What workforce trends and priorities are impacting on the market and digital sector across Australia and New Zealand in 2026? Today, we're joined by Harry Dalton, Head of Marketing from Mr. Simple, and Stuart Thompson, Director of Sales and Marketing from Jetpark Hotels, to break down what is shaping hiring decisions, career choices, and workforce planning across the marketing and digital market. Supported by the data from Australia and New Zealand's leading employment report, our guest industry experts will look at what workforce priorities are leading the charge for marketing and digital teams, which skills are becoming more important in 2026, what trends will shape marketing and digital through 2026 and into 2027, and are businesses moving quickly enough on AI or taking the right level of caution? Hello and welcome to People and Frog Recruitment's 2026 Marketing and Digital Market Analysis. I'm Aiden Boast, North Shore Branch Manager here in Sydney, New South Wales office. And jumping straight into it today, let's talk about what trends are shaping the marketing and digital sector in 2026. Before we get into the discussion, I wanted to quickly set the scene for the marketing and digital market using insights from our 2026 Salary and Market Report. The good news is that the market feels more settled than it has over the past couple of years. That said, businesses are still operating with a degree of caution. Last year was a mixed bag, and some organizations saw stronger performances and growth, while others are still navigating uncertainty and ongoing change. As we're moving into 2026 throughout the year, confidence is gradually returning, and we're seeing hiring activity driven by both replacement hires and businesses growing and having growth initiatives. A big theme that we're seeing across the market is organizational transformation. So businesses aren't simply backfilling vacancies, they're reassessing the team structures, capabilities, and where marketing can have a greater commercial impact. From a talent perspective, demand remains strong for marketing managers, marketing coordinators, and social media managers. We're also continuing to see solid demand across brand, PR, CRM roles, and design functions. What that tells us is that marketing teams are being asked to wear a lot of hats. Employers are looking for people who can manage campaigns, create content, build brand presence, leverage data, and contribute to business growth. Resourcing remains one of the biggest challenges. Many teams are still running lean, which means marketers are being asked to deliver across multiple channels with greater accountability and higher expectations than ever before. When we speak with employers, the priorities are consistent: improving customer experience, generating leads, building brand awareness, and retaining customers. In other words, marketing is no longer just about visibility. Businesses want marketing teams to directly influence revenue, customer engagement, and measurable commercial outcomes. Overall, the market is undoubtedly more stable than it was 1 to 2 years ago, but it's still a high performance environment, and the expectations on marketing professionals to deliver meaningful business impact remains strong as ever. So, shifting from candidates' expectations to growing demand for specialist skills, employers are navigating big changes for 2026. To break down more about what is actually happening in the market across both Australia and New Zealand, we're joined today by Harry Dalton, Head of Marketing from Mr. Simple, and Stuart Thompson, Director of Sales and Marketing from Jetpark Hotels. Thank you both for joining us today. Thank you for both joining us today. I'll start by first looking to the Australian market with you first, Harry, if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Hi, thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. So a few questions I wanted to ask. At the end of 2025, our report said that professionals in the marketing and digital space stated they were heading into 2026 with a more settled but conservative market. How would you describe the first half of 2026 for you and your team, and has it played out the way that you expected?
Yeah, to give you some context, I started at Mr. Simple in March as the head of marketing. I previously had been running my own marketing agency in New Zealand for the last 5 years, but I was a victim of that real downturn, really. So I've packed up agency side and I've gone brand side, which has just been amazing for the mental health, but also the depth that you can get with a brand. So in terms of the first half of this year, as you know, with marketing, there's a delay. I think it's just come out with James Herman and Google that brand marketing especially has a 5 to 24 month return on investment, right? So basically I've been in this company 4 months and we haven't even hit that 5-month mark. So what I'm saying is I think things are moving in a positive direction for sure, but you can't expect to see change within 1 month, 2 months, or even 6 months. Like marketing change, like social movements, they take months and months and months to gain momentum and snowball. So I think we're going the right way, but it's still not overnight. As a marketer, we should be looking 1 to 3 years out, always sort of looking over the fence. So I think we're going the right way. I think a positive thing that I've seen in other companies and across the board in this first year is that the people at the top are getting it. The CEOs, the investors, the stakeholders, they're getting the need to invest in marketing, which I think is positive. They're not throwing the book at it yet, but I think that's a really positive thing to take out the first half of this year, is that they're enabling marketing teams to try stuff. They're giving them a bit of budget and not asking for immediate returns on video campaigns. So I think that education to the top is great. And so you're seeing marketing teams start to flourish a little bit more. There's some of the campaigns built by these small lean teams like you talked about are world class. You only have to sit on Instagram for a little bit of time to see the level of marketing that these small teams are creating, which used to be reserved for the likes of Saatchi boardrooms. So I think that's a really positive thing, is that the people up top are letting us cook, but we're certainly not out the woods yet in terms of performance. Meta, just to go down a negative track, Meta is the worst I've seen it, and I've been using the tool 10 years. You can't rely on it, and most companies are relying on 95% of their leads or sales coming through Meta. And if that fell over tomorrow, they'd be, that cash flow for all these businesses, lead flow, would be over. So I think in a scary sense, a lot of people are still far too reliant on Meta, and should be looking to diversify through sales, direct sales, and organic marketing, and getting off Meta as much as you can, because it could fall over tomorrow, is what I predict.
Oh, that's super interesting. Yeah. And we talk in our report as well about marketing priorities. So we see that they're constantly shifting in comparison to previous years. So we have employers indicating their main focus is on customer experience, lead generation is up there, and brand awareness as well. Have you seen your teams have any shifts within that space in the past 6 months in terms of their priorities, pressures, expectations, and have they been met?
Yeah, I think that, especially because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm a 50-50 creative, 50-50 management, a strategist management, right? And so I think what you're seeing, as a bit of a hangover of the last couple of years is volume. Everyone was going for volume, quantity, heaps of videos, post 100, it's very Gary Vaynerchuk coded. Post 100, one will work. And what we're seeing now is that quantity isn't what's needed now, because if you're making quantity, you're making crap. And so, you're talking to an audience, essentially marketing teams are the theatre troupe. So let's act better, let's create a better entertaining suite of videos, stills and things like that. So I think the biggest shift in 2026 is away from quantity to quality. So, the volume is still high, but what we need to get to now is, okay, we know you can make videos and we know you can make 10 with a slightly different start. Cool. Now let's make 4 really strong videos that have a narrative, they have a problem arc, but then also you've got another layer of content that is more product focused, but it's not shot on phone. People are telling you shoot on phone, it's just get out there and do it. That's over. The whole shot on phone is done. You need, I've always said this from the start, is the quality of your social media reflects the quality of your product and your service. So if you're shooting campaigns on iPhone, then people are going to think that, where you sit on the spectrum of quality, when you could have a cinema camera to an iPhone, you're going to be down that bottom base, especially when you're trying to talk to the broader market, not just the sort of early adopters that would basically buy your thing no matter what, or your service. So yeah, I think there's a big shift towards quality, finesse, and yeah, just a big one from quantity to quality.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've the stuff that I like consume as well. I've noticed there's been a shift in terms of people have a personal story rather than a brand story. So they want to actually get to know the person rather than the actual brand. Don't know if you've seen a shift in that.
No, 100%. One thing I do is like this world building, and like I said, it's characters. So it's multiple characters for each company. We've got a couple at Mr. Simple, and we're just building them one by one by campaign by campaign, and we've had a fantastic response to that.
Nice. And from your perspective, what skills or capabilities have become most important for professionals to stay effective this year?
Look, I thought this is a really cool question, because I know we'll get into the AI later. But there's some things. A lot of people listening probably have VAs in the Philippines and South America and things, right? And so things like there's ChatGPT and Claude have improved copywriting. So when you have VAs where English is a second language, that's reduced the amount of effort you need to put into critiquing all of that. I think there's other tools now that take the brain away, so you can kind of be told if your ads are working and things like that. So less of the brain, I think, is required, which is a bit of a bummer, really, for those people who spent $100,000 on a degree like me. But I think the most important capability now is teamwork. I think that treating your marketing team like a sports team, like we're in it together. You're only as strong as your weakest player. I think that's the capability that's super important at the moment. When we're going from not only quantity but still high quality, and you pass the baton, you pass your assets to someone else, and then there's quality, and it's really this relay race, and you want to treat it like a team. So I think the biggest capability is those people that are great at working in teams. The communications are good. Everyone's kind of 50% work from home. Cool. Well, let's get those comms up on Slack when you finish something. Write your stuff well, bullet points it, be clear. So I think that's the thing that I'm looking for. Well, I think it's really important when all this sort of expertise has been absorbed by the likes of Claude and ChatGPT, or it's been reduced, the need. I think the human element of teamwork, being a good vibe, being a cool person to work with, I reckon that's the key capability. So social skills, really,
I think that reflects across all industries, not just marketing and digital, but yeah. And how do you think the role of marketing digital teams, how do you think it's evolved over the last 6 months, and how have expectations around businesses needing what they're needing from their digital and marketing teams changed along with that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt this way, but I think it's pretty clear now. But we are the heartbeat, right? A marketing team is the heartbeat of the brand. We are the extroverts at the dinner party. We are the front of house at a restaurant. We are the maitre d'. We are all maitre d's, right? So, basically, so I mean that's the role that we play now, from a brand personality, brand identity point of view. It's never been a better time to be extroverted and have impulsive thinking and be loud and be able to be celebrated, to be on camera. And I actually think that marketing now is great for those rascals at school that maybe were a little bit had a hard time keeping their hands to themselves on the mat or chit chat, which is exactly what I was. Because we need you on camera. So fantastic. Let's pull all those skills that were actually quietly shunned at primary school. Let's actually bring those back, and let's get you on camera. And let's get you being the heartbeat, the face of the brand. Actually, we need 4 of you. Cool. Let's all do it. So I think that's the role that I think marketing's playing now. There is also the performance side, which is you've got to be making money. I've just had this discussion. Our outputs are all up 150, 200, 300% this year as I've come in. But we still haven't had that kick up in sales and return, which, as I said earlier, there's a delay. So you got to do that too. But there is this beautiful belief in the unknown. It's almost religious marketing. You got to be able to, you got to know that there's something there with your eyes closed, that if you keep the outputs up, you keep the quality up, you will get that lift in 6 months to 12 to 24. But the quicker it happens, it depends on how good you are, and that should reflect in your salary, I believe. So yeah, that's what I think right now.
Nice. I think you're right as well in with getting in front of the camera, and especially in recruitment now, it's ever more prevalent to actually be human, because there's so many things interrupting. And I think every recruiter probably has on their score report card that they talk too much. So it's definitely needed. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
And then last question I wanted to ask, looking forward for the next 12 months, where do you think will be the biggest challenge for you and your team, and how do you think teams will need to respond?
I think the biggest thing now is ensuring that all departments, are working and gelling and talking and coming together. I think previously, they've all been in different rooms. You have your product or service people, and then you kind of got your ops, and then you got your marketing. And some people like to run it where we don't want you all talking, or, I think the most important challenge to be able to overcome is pulling it all together, having a brilliant CEO, really, and marketers make good CEOs, so I hear. Because you're empaths, right? And you understand and you listen, and the only way that we get better is by listening and understanding and seeing, going, oh, okay, I can act on that. So I think that the biggest challenge is pulling everything together, making the right product for these people that are way down the line as your customers, right? And I think often product developers or engineers or whoever it is, they need to be kind of talking to the social media manager, or being in the shop, and just, it's an age-old thing. Market research is let the people do the work for you, but people don't do it, So make sure you're making the right products for people, and listen, get that feedback up from the customer, and don't make it for your peers. I think that's what people are so guilty of, like, creating the right products is still marketing, right? Like we create gap. We say, there's the gap. This is the product for that. That's the early stage of marketing, and that's something that I've done a lot over the years, is concept products and then goes to someone else to make it. But I think that pulling it all together at that early stage, because it might take 6 months, 12 months to develop that product. Let's make sure that the product's not just being made because the engineers want to make it. It's all considered from the customer up, and you're making stuff for the customers, or generating new services.
Great, thank you for that. The insights, Harry. That was fascinating insights there. I'd like to shift gears slightly now and look across the ditch in New Zealand and bring our second guest in for today's update. Today we have Stuart Thompson, Director of Sales and Marketing for Jetpark Hotels. Appreciate you joining us today.
All good. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Stuart. A few questions for yourself as well. So we've noticed professionals state that they expected 2026 to be more settled but conservative market. How would you describe the first half of 2026 for you and your team, and has it played out the way that you predicted?
I don't think it's played out the way anyone predicted, if we're totally honest. But I think it's a pretty accurate description. Look, the market right now does feel a little bit more settled, but there's still a fair amount of caution out there. I believe we all started out with high hopes, but I think we've all started out with high hopes over the last sort of 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think you've heard a lot of people probably at the beginning of every year say, right, this is it, this is the year. And then something's come along that's obviously changed things. And I think this year is probably no different. I think we all had high hopes at the beginning of the year, and then the wheels fell off a little bit around the end of February. And then, of course, we've got an election year as well, where people are a little bit cautious. And then I think afterwards, after the election, as per every sort of 3 years here in New Zealand, they realise that the world keeps turning, the sun comes up in the morning and nothing's actually changed, and they'll get on with it. But what that's meant is, listen, people are taking longer to make decisions. They're looking more closely at value. There's definitely more scrutiny around where budgets have been spent. Saying that, Harry made a good point, and I totally agree with it in the sense that he was saying, and I wrote a little note down here, that he was saying that basically the good thing is that marketing in particular right now, we're being given a little bit more rope. And if I look at basically my team as well, for us at the moment, because of this year, we're being a little bit more deliberate about where we put our time and effort. We're not looking to do more for the sake of it. And again, Harry made another good point. So I was listening, Harry, about it's not about basically the quantity, it's about the quality. It's not about just pumping out lots of videos and lots of ads. So we are being a lot more deliberate in what we're putting out there. Not that we weren't before, but even more so now. We're looking at to do the right things and make sure they support the wider commercial goals of the business. One thing that's become very clear is that marketing cannot operate in isolation. I wrote a paper about this just recently about how it shouldn't be in silos anymore. The best results come when marketing, sales, and operations, when they're all aligned around the same customer journey and the same commercial objectives. So overall, yes, it's probably played out to some way the way I expected, but the pressures to be a little bit more focused, more accountable, or the accountability has probably increased a little bit more.
Okay. And have you or your team seen any shifts over the past 6 months in the priorities, pressures, or expectations that may not have been there previously?
Yeah, you said about some of the percentages and that sort of thing. So definitely, I think the biggest change is that those priorities, or the priorities that you were talking about before with Harry, they're no longer being looked at separately. Brand awareness supports lead generation, and customer experience has a direct impact on repeat business, reputation, and advocacy. They will all feed into each other. There may have been a time when we'd look at basically, what's brand awareness doing, what leads are coming in, and so on and so forth. The whole thing is now wrapping into one. So there's much more pressure now to show what marketing activity is actually contributing to the business as a whole. It's not enough to say that a campaign generated, reach or X amount of clicks or engagement. Now, because marketing has evolved, the expectation is to understand whether it's created demand, influenced bookings and sales, supported revenue, or improved the customer journey. And I think the other shift is around the speed as well. Businesses expect now teams to move quickly, but they still expect good thinking and good execution and clear commercial outcomes behind it. So the speed of which things are expected to be put out there has increased. But the level or the expectancy of the level of the work that's put out there is still there, or has increased as well. And that's not just with businesses. I think that's also with the public. If you think now compared to 10, 20 years ago, 5 years ago even, the public's a lot more savvy now than what it used to be, especially around sort of marketing, advertising and media.
Yeah. And from your perspective, what skills or capabilities are becoming most important for professionals to stay effective this year?
This is probably the easiest one. Adaptability is probably the big one. I mean, Harry pointed out about AI, and again, you probably ask about that in another question. But listen, things are changing so quickly. I mean, it's changed and evolved over the years anyway, but it's changing now. Literally, it was sort of like every 12 months things would change, every 6 months, then every month, then every week. It's now almost daily things are changing. Whether that's AI, digital platforms, data, customer behavior. So people need to be comfortable learning and changing the way that they actually work. I think the other thing is commercial awareness, right? I've always pushed on this big time, but it's becoming increasingly more and more important. It's not enough to understand marketing in isolation, as it previously, some people could get away with that kind of thinking. They could kind of go back to what I was saying before about how it doesn't work in silos anymore. It shouldn't just be a case of marketing sits over here, sales sits over here, operations. It's all now part of one. The way that we basically, the way that we marketing is part of sales. The way that we sell is part of marketing with click-throughs and basically making a clicking decision to purchase right there because of the marketing you've seen. So having that commercial awareness, not just knowing that, yes, if I load up this video or if I do this social media post, it will get X amount of clicks, it'll do this. It's being commercially savvy to understand the business goals, but also the marketing plan and how each of your actions is actually related and correlating to that plan as well. You need to understand the business, customer, where revenue comes from, what's actually driving performance, and so be a lot more business savvy. And then curiosity and judgment matter as well. There are plenty of tools available now, but the real skill is knowing what questions to ask. So what information matters, what actions should come from it. And look, technical skills can be learned, but the ability to think commercially and make good decisions is what really is going to set people apart, I think, in the future.
Yeah. So you explained a bit there about how the teams have evolved over the last 6 months. How have the expectations around what businesses are needing for their marketing digital teams changed along with that?
It probably ties into some of the other things I've said, that the marketing digital teams are becoming much more embedded into the wider business. Go back to what I said before, they're no longer just being asked to create campaigns or manage channels or produce content. They're being asked to contribute to customer experience, the business growth, the commercial planning, the broader decision making. And I think to Harry's point, you made a point there before about where you will see a lot more marketers stepping into a lot more senior roles, whether it's CEOs or whatever it might be, because of this shift. At the same time, expectations have gone up. Businesses want teams that can move quickly, that understand that data, use technology well, but still bring strong creative and strategic thinking. There's also much less tolerance for marketing operating in its own bubble. So it's not a silo, and I keep harping on about that. But teams are expected to work closely with sales, revenue, and operations, understand how the work fits into the overall performance of the business. For me, that's a positive shift because marketing should be about helping shape the business and business decisions.
Yeah. And looking ahead, what do you think will be the biggest challenge for you and your teams, and how do you think teams will need to respond?
Biggest challenges are probably technology, really, and keeping abreast of that technology. That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for any team and any business. Moving forward, that's basically going to be one of those things where you've got to sort of look at it and go, right, okay, how do we keep abreast of it? But then also not just the technology side, but how do we use the technology? Not just basically but also not just jumping on the bandwagon of something that's come out. Taking the time to understand how that's actually going to, how that can be used, how we can get the best out of it, how we can get the most out of it, how we can use it. So the challenge is, I think I said at the beginning, the challenge is technology, but as I think about it, the challenge is actually understanding the technology and how we can get the most out of it. And the only way to do that is to, as I said before, ask the right questions and understand the whole business.
Yeah, no, and I'd love to bring both of you on screen and talk a little bit more about the technology, in particular AI. And I'll start with you, Stuart, if that's okay. And just despite the reliance on AI seemingly everywhere nowadays, only 25% of marketing teams said to be prioritizing automation and AI in 2026. In your world, have you seen AI evolve more rapidly over the course of this year? And if so, what are the conversations around it looking like?
The simple answer is yes, we have seen it evolve. I think those numbers that you've got there as well, I wouldn't say they're probably a true indicator in this. They might be from an automation point of view. I think if you ask the question, how many businesses are actually using it, that percentage would probably go up. How many businesses are actually using it and automating systems using AI? That is probably a different matter. I think a lot of that is because, go back to what I said before, it's changing and evolving so quickly that people are struggling to sort of keep abreast of it and understand what they should be using and how they should be using it. I think a lot of what it comes down to is, rather than sort of panicking and going, I think a lot of people are panicking and going, okay, don't know how to use it, don't know what I should be using, so I'm not going to use it, right? I think then some people are scared of using it because they feel that it's probably moving quicker than they want it to be. Some people, obviously, there's the old saying that people love change, they just don't like being made to change and don't like have change being forced upon them. But we all love change. Change is a great thing. So don't be frightened of it. Embrace it. Ask the right questions about how you can use it, but then also be aware that AI it's a lovely tool, and I'm sure Harry will agree with this. You've still got to have the knowledge. You've still got to have the expertise. If you asked most AI programs certain things, they would probably admit themselves that they don't know everything. They're going to make mistakes. Harry said then before about spending, thousands on marketing degrees and education and that sort of stuff. Listen, it might not just be education. You've real world experience, commercial experience, common sense, right? And I sort of smile as I say that because it used to be a trait. I think it's becoming a bit of a skill set nowadays. But having the common sense and understanding and knowing your stuff, and using those years of knowledge and experience basically to check, to ensure that it's been used in the right way. But ask yourself the right question as to why we're using it, what are we trying to get out of it, and how can it help us? Does that answer the question?
Absolutely, yeah. And I find that really interesting insights. I went to a HR event recently, and the experts within AI presented this information about what they know, and they said, I'm calling myself an expert. I didn't know about this 3 to 6 months ago. So it's ever evolving, and it's very rapidly evolving. So yeah,
I think,
super interesting.
yeah, and I think just on that before you just touch to Harry, because it's something that's come up quite a bit when people ask me about one thing that you would look at with AI. One of the first things I would be saying is basically make sure you've got an AI policy in place for your business in some way, shape, or form, because there's a lot of open source stuff out there. You don't know what's being shared, what's happening, what's popping up on someone else's AI platform from things that you're sharing out there. So AI policy, ensure that you're using the right AI tool for the job and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, what about yourself, Harry? Are you seeing similar patterns of how businesses are approaching AI?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Stuart, I was nodding that whole time pretty much through everything you were saying.
Good. We'll
I
end
couldn't agree
there.
more. Yeah, I was trying to Morse code you. I was trying to send a pigeon so you could tell I was agreeing. Yeah, I was thinking I might start selling a 6-week course in common sense if you want to go in on that with me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so AI, where are we at with it? I mean, two things. This is the way. It's just like Stuart said. It's how you use it, right? So my kind of general rule of thumb is anything front facing, anything customer facing, it's not there, right? So that's generally anything that someone's going to read or see, because the writing is still soulless. Although you can kind of, I've got what do you call it? A Claude skill that I've got that's okay, but yeah, still pretty bad. And then no, like fake people. It's not there yet, but pick and choose where you use it. So where it's fantastic is non-front facing. Internal use cases. So certain things like as a manager or something, sometimes writing briefs can be like the last thing you want to do, right? You kind of have it all there, but you have to put it together. Things like going, word vomit down, turn this into a brief, done. Everyone's informed. Everyone's got the details. Great. It's perfect for something like that. Research, really great for research so that you can back up maybe a hypothesis for a campaign or a product type. So you get, you can really build a good case around what you want to do. It's great for research. But then, you have to be careful because it enhances shitty work. If you are doing high quantity things and you're doing AI writing and things like that, it's only going to make it look more obvious. So, be really careful how you use it. I think also, like Stuart, when you said having a policy in place, it made me really think too, because I'm in fashion and it works for everyone though, B2B as well. Huffer, the clothing brand from New Zealand, are getting absolutely raked over the coals for using AI models who had a likeness to previous real life models, right, that they used. And unfortunately, they're the scapegoat of something that needed to happen. So there's we now have a policy for us that we don't use AI models. Okay, we only use humans, but we do use AI for pack shots, or this jumper here. I say make a flat lay version. It's amazing for that, but nothing with humans, right? So yes, Stuart, I think that's a good point. Get your rules in place, and also don't be afraid to say, hey, it doesn't work for this. This isn't better than the human. I think we sort of have this feeling that it should be better than humans in every place. Take a step back, take a second to assess and go, okay, I've actually spent 2 hours trying to create this thing where a human could have done it in 15 minutes. Okay, just because I'm clicked and I'm locked in and just like redoing on code. Let's just sit back and go, hey, hold on. Is this taking longer than one day with a photographer or something?
Yeah.
Be like, no, that's not where we use it. This is. Let's just go yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. And then you work out where it's epic, where it's not,
Yeah, I've heard people even spending so much money on AI when they've come to the end of their projects. They're like, "Oh, we could have just hired somebody for less and get that done this exactly the same efficiency."
I feel like we've just done that as well. Yeah.
If I can just add to that, Harry made a good point, and Harry may or may not agree with me on this. That one of the benefits I find of AI in particular is, because you said something about like putting a brief together and that sort of stuff, or even putting not copy. Obviously, you don't want to just go, oh, write me copy, right, or write me a press release or whatever. Oh my God, don't just let it do that. It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's that first, as marketers, it's that first sort of step where you sometimes sit there at the keyboard for maybe sometimes an hour, and 3 or 4 coffees later, going, where do I start? Just to kickstart you off. Most writers are the same. Harry's smiling, so you'll know exactly where I'm coming from. And especially as a communication tool, and you sat there and you go off, you get a coffee, you come back and you go, right, okay. But you know what it is you want to say, right? So I find it a brilliant tool from a time-saving point of view, being able to go, this is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Go, right? And it starts you off and gives you the skeleton to then go, right, yes, no, take that, right, I'm off and away. Right? That's one of the biggest things that I find AI really, really good for now, that communications, PR stuff, ad copy, whatever it might be, just that first starting point that I might waste an hour or so just trying to figure out, or writing down notes. I can go boom, and it's kickstarted me.
Yeah, no, I agree, Stuart. I used to have to, like an A1 piece of paper, mind map main points and then sub points off that. Then you go to write.
Circle that bit.
But now I just go, get that in the right order, and it's pretty good.
Because as creatives, it's because listen, I'm a photographer by trade from way back, so I'm like Harry, a bit of an anomaly in the sense that the creative and now in sort of the the marketing and brand and everything else. And so as creative, sometimes your brain's going like this, and you just need something to go. And if you haven't got someone sat next to you going, how about this, this, and this? That's where. So as an assistant, and I think that's a real key word for anybody listening, is as an assistant, not as a replacement, not as a new member of staff, not as as a tool to do everything for you, but as an assistant to basically get your thoughts in shape, or to assist you to do maybe a quicker more streamlined, more strategic job, quicker probably in this marketplace at the moment. That's where it's key. And I think that word assistant, because even if you're not being derogatory in any way, but even if you have an assistant doing some work for you, you would probably still check that off and go through it.
100%. Yeah. It's like in Mad Men and the typewriter. It's just like that. You still need it,
Yeah.
but it's AI.
Yeah. Humans are still needed for now. We'll see how we go. But thank you both, gents, for your time today. There's some really good insights there, and it's really interesting to see what's happening in your world. So if anybody's watching today and wanting to reach out to get in touch with either Harry Dalton as Mr. Simple, or Stuart Thompson at Jetpark Hotels, you can visit the comments for the information below. Thanks once again.
Cool.
I would say right now to everybody and anybody that if you want to reach out to either myself or Harry, go and type us in online, because if you can't find either of us online, then we're obviously crap at our job, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you now, you'll be able to find either of us pretty simply. Right?
Yeah, nice. Sure. And I want to say, Stuart, if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can go through my assistant, which is AI.
Brilliant.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Brilliant. So just a reminder that all the insights shared today are based off our 2026 Employment and Salary Trends Report. If you'd like a deeper dive into salaries, benefits, and workplace trends across your market, you can request a copy today by scanning the QR code on screen now or clicking the link in the comments below. Lastly, whether you're looking to grow your career or build your team with the right talent, the People to People group can help. As an award-winning recruitment agency, we operate across Australia with specialist teams in every major market. Across the ditch in New Zealand, we've proudly recruited for over 24 years through Frog Recruitment, with offices in Auckland and Wellington. You can contact the contact details are on screen now, or you can see the links in the comments to reach out to one of your teams today. And if you're looking for help with your recruitment here in the North Shore, please reach out to myself. My name's Aiden Boast. The details will be on the comments as well. That's it for today. Thank you very much for joining us on the 2026 Market and Digital Market Update. I'll see you next time.